I think we are officially live, guys. Up and running. Mr. Cresswell, are we here? DD the CB, did we make it? Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the Codtacular podcast. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, alongside my co-host, the other GOAT. We got BigTymer, one of the greatest of all time, and a very special guest joining us. He used to be a pro, and then he became a coach. Then he became an agent, and now I think he's an agent owner, something like that. We got Mr. Brice Vesanto joining the show. Brice, how you doing today?
Good, man. How are you two doing?
Freaking awesome. Young Will, no one has seen you since you had hair.
It's been about 6 years since I think anybody from the COD community has seen me. It's good to be back, though. I've been itching for an opportunity to get back involved in the COD scene, so I was real happy whenever you called me a couple weeks ago and presented the opportunity to me.
Yeah, I was like, Will, listen, I've been out of the COD world. You've been out of the COD world. Call of Duty League is kicking off. We've got to start a podcast. We've got to get back into the scene. And Brice, you've kind of been in a very special position where you've seen every bit of Call of Duty esports, but now you're wearing a hat with your own company on it. Can you explain what the hell's going on in your life?
Yeah, man. So after coaching EUnited to the Call of Duty Championship victory, saw an opportunity to start a company called Bad Moon Talent. We're a talent agency and talent management company, represent broadcast talent and professional players.
Representing the players and the talent. You've got it all
Yes,
covered. Is that a very difficult job? Because negotiations are never easy in esports.
Yeah, it's it's a fun job. Representing my friends, my fellow peers, the guys I used to play with, worked with all day, every day. I think it's fun working in the space. I enjoy esports, love esports. Grew up through esports. I come to work with a smile every day, so nothing better,
Love that. All right. Well, I wanted to just kind of shoot the shit while we were waiting for the rest of the lobby to load up. We've already got 140 viewers on twitch.tv/Puckett. That's where we're going to be hosting the show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So thank you all for tuning in for episode 1. But let's do the official intro. This is the Codtacular podcast where we're going to be talking all things Call of Duty with a lot of focus on the competitive side because that's where we were born and raised. I'm Chris Puckett. I'm a broadcaster, used to be the play-by-play guy for all the Halo tournaments. Then I started doing Call of Duty once Halo started to kind of become Reach and worse. And I made my way over to Black Ops 2 when I got to meet BigTymer here. Mr. Will Johnson was a member of the most popular team that is still, I think, in Call of Duty history, the original Black Ops 2 Optic Gaming lineup. Will, can you kind of give everyone who's just joining the Call of Duty scene over the last 2 years a little breakdown of your career? When did you get started in the scene?
I got started super early on. First of all, did we only meet in Black Ops 2? Is that the first time we ever...
Well, you were on Extravagant at one point, right? Like back in 2009.
Right. Yeah, you were doing the casting,
but we never really hung out. You were on the stage and I was up in the tower, and we never really got a chance to really be in the same room and party until Black Ops 2 when we'd go to all the events.
That's what it was. But even before Call of Duty, I mean, I guess I started competing in COD in late 2007, but I was telling some people in a YouTube video I uploaded earlier, I think your voice was the first that I ever heard when it came to esports, MLG. I remember catching one of the old school like Halo 2 broadcasts, and you were casting, I think it was like Straight Rippin' versus Carbon or something at the time. Maybe we didn't meet until
the old
Black
school
Ops 2, but yeah. And in my head, we had met many years before, so it's cool to be doing a podcast.
To be honest, I remember calling your name to a station or two, especially back in those early Halo days. Will, can you kind of tell us how things have changed since you've left the scene? Because when did you bounce? You left when you were at your peak. You were the highest earning player in Call of Duty history at that moment, up until Karma passed you a year or two later when he won his second championship. So
yeah, it was Karma and then Krim. So I started competing in late 2000. And stopped pretty much 6 years ago, almost to the day. I think it was like January 14th or January 15th of 2014. So it was right after the end of Black Ops 2, start of Call of Duty Ghost. I think it was UMG Philadelphia was my last event. So, I played during the early like infancy days of Call of Duty. We would be playing, we had national championship games for $2,500 a piece. There might be like 10 people in the stands watching us. Some years we didn't even travel to tournaments. So it was the very early stages of Call of Duty. And you're right. Looking back on it, I used to say in interviews all the time, I wanted to be like a pioneer of the scene and say like I laid the groundwork for a real esport. And now that I look back, I guess I did that, but I left at the absolute wrong time. Like
think
as
so?
soon as everything, oh, for sure. As soon as everything started to blow up, I completely left and just didn't pay attention to Call of Duty. So my timing was not great when it came to when I left. But I mean, I don't have any regrets.
The chat and I both want to know, where the hell did you go? What were you doing afterwards? Was it all YouTube at that point?
Well, the plan was to do all YouTube. Yeah, I had started posting videos in the Optic House, and I was doing blogs, and then I got involved in trading stocks, and it's a whole other story for a different time. That's not a Call of Duty podcast.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah, I started doing that for a couple of years, and then I got focused on the content creation thing, and yeah, just gaming a little bit more recreationally now. The reflexes are a little bit slower than they used to, so I play for fun. I play Tarkov, H1Z1, post a lot of YouTube videos, and stream on Twitch occasionally. So that's kind of been where I've been for the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, it's been fun to watch the ride. I've been tuning into your content in and out. I saw the Wall Street moves, and I was very jealous that I didn't have any money to join you and go participate. But one of the cool things about this show is I had Faccento on, and Faccento said he had never met you before tonight's podcast.
Yeah.
And for me, Faccento is like an old school guy. Like, he went all the way back to 2015. He was in the World Championship on that stage for AW. But you guys totally missed paths. Like, your paths have never crossed.
I think it's so funny, banking off what Will said. Like, my first time being introduced to esports was watching a Halo stream and listening to Puckett cast. And then I think I picked up really becoming a pro right after Will left. And then I left, I retired right before the Call of Duty League started. And that was the absolute worst time to get out. So I think it's pretty funny, the parallel there of first being introduced by Puckett and then getting out at a shitty time.
Well, I think you guys are in it at the right time, because now we can make content while everyone else is traveling every week. We can just sit here and we can pump out the content and enjoy things from afar. I don't think I'm allowed to say it, but I'm going to Minnesota. I can't tell you what I'll be doing there, but I'm super pumped to be going to Minnesota. I'm so excited to get back in the scene, but today we're just going to be honest with you guys. We aren't caught up. We are coming in at ground level with you guys. So on the show, we're basically going to be breaking down what the Call of Duty League is, where we're going, how the tournament's going to work. We're going to be taking a look at the teams. There's been power rankings done by the community and by some of the coaches. And we're just going to be breaking things down. So I think at the start, we got to talk about your guys' careers and total earnings, just to put it into perspective. Will, what is the published number? Do you know exactly what your number was when you went out at the end of your career?
I do remember it was 13 like tournament wins. I'm actually not sure what the exact number is. It was somewhere around like $140,000 back at the end of Black Ops 2. So that's like 2013, 2014. It was somewhere around that number, 140, 150.
I thought I saw like 199 at one point, but maybe we'll get the official math from the chat later. I'm sure someone's going to track it down. You would know better than I. I don't know why I would even challenge that. Faccento, you got second place at a World Championship. Big money there. But what do you think your total earnings were as a player?
I actually think I was in the same boat. I think I was in the 150 range, I think. And I only have one championship win, so that kind of tells you the evolution of Call of Duty. From when Will played to when I played. It's
only one
funny.
Championship. That's insane.
Yeah. I got my one. I had to get one, I couldn't
What event was that? Do you remember it?
It was MLG Las Vegas 2017, and I got MVP that event too.
Yes, you did. And I remember because I was coming off a vacation, and Faccento was tearing everybody up at that event. It's like, normally the leader, you didn't expect it out of him. He'd drop like 19 kills, and then all of a sudden he's dropping 30 bomb after 30 bomb.
Yeah, unheard of.
So who were you playing with at the time? Who was your squad?
It was me, Looney, Aqua, and Felony.
Oh, okay.
That was the four. We were on Rise Nation.
Rise Nation, yeah.
Owned by Roger Saffold. He's on the Tennessee Titans now. They just lost. Was rooting for my man.
He looked good though. He had some.
He did, dude.
Blocks
he looked good.
The boy looked good.
Man's got paid.
Will, it looks like the chat, we got Glitch BJ who says you made $161,364.30.
I see it. I was looking it up. There's a website dedicated to all this. This is all
esportsearnings.com, guys. Check it out.
esportsearnings.com.
It's up and running all the time. One of my
That's
favorite
awesome.
tools. We got to talk about the league, though, because now things are going to the big stage. They've sold 12 teams in the inaugural season worth $25 million each. That's the rumored amount of money. I can't confirm or deny it, but I've seen it posted all over the internet. So that's the number we're going with.
I heard after fees, it's closer to about
$25
27.
Closer to 27?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
In certain cities like LA and New York, I'm sure it could go for more than other cities that may be less attractive to a home audience.
Definitely those big markets.
I would say like New York would probably go before Minnesota goes, which was really surprising when I found out the Call of Duty League was going to Minnesota in January to launch the league. So we're going to the Tundra this weekend, boys.
You're going to the Tundra.
I'm going to the Tundra.
Dallas, Texas.
We got to take a look at this event here, and I'm gonna pull it up because Minnesota is going to be the first stop. After that, we're going to London, UK. We're going to Atlanta, Georgia, Paris, France. LA is going to host the two LA teams, Optic Gaming and the Gorillas. We've got a New York stop. Heading to Toronto. We'll be in Dallas, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Orlando, and Seattle before they announce the championship location. But this first stop, it's going to be in Minnesota, and things are not looking warm there. I am not ready to go to the Armory on January 24th to the 26th and battle this cold, but that's where we're all going to be. And we got to talk about some of the teams that are competing there. First up, can you guys name all 12 teams just off the top of your head? Do you know them, Will? Can I challenge you here?
Well, I have it pulled up on the website, so yes, I can. Now I can, but no, I couldn't off the top of my head. But there are a few, the veteran squads I'm familiar with. There's a lot of, like I said, I mean, it's been 6 years, so there's a lot of like new talent, new players that I'm not super familiar with. But look, I plan on watching every single match this weekend. I plan on getting in touch with Call of Duty again and learning the scene.
I love it because I honestly couldn't name all 12 of them last night. I was blanking on one of the teams, and it was Paris Legion. I was like, how did I forget Paris?
Yeah.
Let's start here at the top with the Atlanta FaZe, because this is a team that I think has basically just young talent. I look at the squad, and I don't know if you'll recognize any of these players, Will. We got Simp, Priesta, Major Maniac, Celium, and Abizi on the starting lineup. None of these guys were around when you were competing, right?
None were competing at a pro level. I do remember Major Maniac and playing in some like tournaments against amateur teams.
Really?
Yeah, I do remember that name. And I've watched off and on. I've seen a few tournaments. So they are, younger talent, but I've seen Abizi absolutely go off against people who I thought were like the best players in the game. So I understand like the potential from this team. And you said this is the FaZe roster.
This
right?
is Atlanta FaZe.
Atlanta FaZe.
Okay, so that's a strong team then. I mean, that's young talent, but they're good.
And Faccento, this is a squad you should know quite a bit about. What can you tell us about Simp and Abizi?
So I coached these two last year, and dude, they're the best kids. Like, aside from Call of Duty, they're just great people, like great kids. They're sponges. So anything I said, they listened. Like, they respected me. And now they have replays. Chris Replays or Crowder as their coach now, so I expect the same transition from me being a coach to him, and them listening to him. I think they're going to pick up right where they left off with winning the last two tournaments. I think they're going to come in and dominate.
How old are we talking with those two?
Both 19.
Oh,
Simp,
okay.
Simp still might be 18.
Wow.
They're very young.
They're young. Actually, Abizi might be 20 now.
And they have Priesta on the lineup, who is very young as well. Celium, though, is a guy that I have never watched. I've commentated hundreds, maybe 1,000 Call of Duty games. Celium was never in a lobby.
So Celium is Celium.
Celium, thank you.
Yep, Celium. He pretty much ran the search and destroy scene with Simp for 2 or 3 years when they were like 15, 16, 17. So like they've been playing together for 3 years, and now they're on the same team in the pro league. So that chemistry right there, like they're going to pick up right where they left off from those online search and destroy tournaments.
Now, Major Maniac is a name that I recognize from online tournaments. Never saw him in person. Do you know this player much, Brice? Can you tell us anything about him?
Yeah, so he's actually like 24 or 25, which surprises a lot of people. He didn't go pro until he was 23. But his dad's a colonel in the army, and he's a real, straightforward kid. He's a good kid too. Like that roster, like they just have good, like lighthearted, um, you know, non-toxic players. So I think they're gonna I think they're gonna have a good season.
What I loved about this team was just kind of watching Priesta's stream and watching a few of the other guys is they all give each other props. No one is the hero of that squad. No one has to be the leader of the team. It seems like selfless players that are just willing to get the trades and walk away with the W. And if you looked at the overall rankings from the community, everyone says that Atlanta's kind of the number one team right now. So I want to sit there and let that sink in. Everyone is saying that this Atlanta FaZe team that Will and I never saw any of the players really before. Facento's seen them recently. But they're going up against some legends. And I want to highlight this next squad here because it's the Chicago Huntsmen. And this, of course, is Hexa Squad. If you guys have been out of the scene for a minute, you're missing probably some big news here. First of all, Nadeshot isn't playing Call of Duty. He owns 100 Thieves, but he's not in the Call of Duty League. He didn't buy one of the squads. Hex sold Optic Gaming. Some things were done with that team. They became the LA Optic, but then he joined up with the guys from NRG Esports, who have teams like the San Francisco Shock. They have League of Legends players and a whole lot of other games represented, but they started the Huntsmen, and this is kind of a fresh start for Scump, and he decided to go with Formal. Out of all the Optic teammates that he's had in the past, Formal was the guy he wanted to duo with. And Will, I kind of wanted to touch here on the foundation of this Huntsman squad that's representing Chicago. What do you know about Scump recently? Have you talked to him about going through this process? Did you follow the Optic drama? What all went down?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely followed the drama and was a part of some of it behind the scenes. I try to keep it off social media as much as I can. But I think a lot of people, from what I've heard, people think that Seth has gotten a little comfortable. He's had a lot of success, not only in competing, but also with the content that he's made. So they think maybe he's not as hungry as he once was. But look, I teamed with that kid for, I don't know, 6-7 years. He's always hungry. One of the most competitive, I mean, not just in Call of Duty, anything he does. This is the guy who thinks that he can tackle Adrian Peterson in his prime. Like, he's
no
just,
problem.
Yeah, no problem. He'll just tackle him first try. So look, he's going to come out with some fire. He wanted to team again with Formal. They have an incredible past, obviously, together with the Optic, dynasty that they were building for a couple of years. And although they had some, some troubles and personal problems, I think they moved through it. They've grown up. I've seen Seth personally mature a lot over the years. And he's going to come out ready to play. Look, if he didn't want to, he could easily retire and be done with it. He's not going to play and not try. So I think he's going to come out and he's going to surprise some people. I think he knows that he's had a couple of not off years, but not really scump years at the same time. And he's got something to prove for sure.
There's a really good series on CallOfDuty.com called The Campaign. I don't know if anyone has seen it, but they have a series where they're following the Huntsman, and it feels like you're watching Hard Knocks from the NFL. They're basically following the players, they're following the drama, they're catching up with how the team was built. And one of the things that they're kind of bigging up is the drama between Scump and Formal at times. And this was an issue in the past. Is it going to rear its head again? Or is this really just going to be a super strong foundation? Let's talk about the rest of the squad that's playing around this duo, though. They've got Arcides, Envoy, and Gunless. And if you've been watching Call of Duty over the last 3 years, I think all of the top pros would say Gunless was always a top 10 player and arguably top 3 depending on the title. Yeah. Faccento, what's your take on the rest of this Huntsman lineup?
Yeah, so starting off with Gunless, I mean, the guy has he's been an MVP in 3 different games and has won a championship in 3 different Call of Duties in a row, which is like, that's pretty unheard of besides, I think, Formal. I think Formal's the only other guy that has done that, so now they're on the same team. And then you have Arcides, who's won the world championships last year. He's been one of the most consistent players the past few years. And then the new kid, the young gun, Envoy, he's young. I think he's 20, and he came on and joined Gen G midway through the Black Ops 4 season when they weren't that good, and he transformed that team into becoming a top 3 team, and everyone kind of knew it, like it was because of him. So he's a big brain, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. They think he's just kind of this, slayer, kills everything. Not the kid's really smart, and I have a lot of respect for his play. So I think he's going to be kind of the leader behind that powerful squad with their slaying power.
Do you
So
think
Envoy
this team
came up
needs
in
a
Black
leader?
Ops 4 or
Yeah.
what game? Okay.
He played in AEW, and then I think they changed the rules to you have to be 18 years or older to play in the league.
Yeah.
So he couldn't play for the next 3 years,
Gotcha.
and then he came back, and Black Ops 4 was his breakout year.
I'm super excited to see him play, and it's really surprising that maybe one of the young guns is going to take over the leadership role, because Formal is not shy about giving his feedback or commanding the troops around the map. Scump can make calls of his own, but Gunless saying that Envoy was one of the guys I really wanted to team with, and then also get to team with the veterans in Scump and Formal to become the most famous team in the league right now. I feel like this is the squad that has the target on their back. Everyone is going to be looking to beat the Huntsmen when we go up north this weekend. But especially this squad. Let's keep it rolling here, because we got to peek the Dallas Empire. And we're going to take a minute real quick. Chat, can everyone spam, "We love you, V Lion Man"? Over the last 24 hours, he's probably spent 18 of them prepping for this show. We love all the graphics, and without him, we could not get the show off the ground. But Dallas Empire, this is where the drama comes into play, because Clayster, part of the World Championship team from last year, not with his EUnited teammate R-Cities. Crim 6, not playing alongside Scump or Formal this year, and Crim was not happy about that. Any details that you two can share about Crim 6 leaving Chicago and becoming a mainstay and arguably the face of this Empire squad?
I mean, I can't speak on all of the details that I heard. There were some, again, behind the scenes type things that went down, but I can speak on Crim as a person, and I'm telling you, similar to Scump, maybe on a different level than Scump. Crim is just like, he's just a different type of human being. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I lived with him in the, not the Scuff House, but the first original Optic House. And the guy just, like, he's also super competitive outside of everything. But in terms of gaming, he games all the time. Like, that is something he's truly passionate about. If he's not practicing COD, which I'm sure now that things have evolved, he's only playing COD. But if that guy's awake, he's playing games and he's practicing, and it's always a shooter, and he's always competitive with it. And I know with how things went down with him leaving, or whatever you want to call it, from Optic, he's coming out with some fire. And I don't even know what number he's on now. It might be starting to rival Ogre 2 in
He's
terms of
the
tournament
winningest
wins.
player in Call of Duty history, without a doubt. I think he's at 33 victories.
33 victories, and I can tell you without a doubt, I was with him at Cars and Coffee a couple back. He is hungrier right now than ever to come out and prove that he should not have been dropped or let go or anything like that. So if there's one team to be afraid of and one player to be afraid of in particular, I think it would be Crim 6.
Looking at the rest of this lineup, though, tell me about this squad, Faccento, because Hook is a guy that blew up. Advanced Warfare, everyone knew Hook's name. Then he gets the ruling, you're not old enough. Everybody drops him. He can't compete in Call of Duty. Goes over to Halo, starts winning tournaments over there, constantly finishing in the top 3. Then he comes back to Call of Duty, and Hastro has held on to him throughout his entire FPS pro career. He knew this was going to be the moment he was waiting for in the Call of Duty.
Yeah. I mean, Huke's been an anomaly for years. Like, in the pro community and inside the insight from the pros are like, this kid is the greatest talent we've ever seen. And now you're starting to see people like Simp and Illy and these young guns rival him. But originally, he was the original young gun, right? And I think everyone's just waiting for him to do what everyone thinks that he can do. And I could see him breaking out this year and really stepping up for his team and becoming the star player again. I've heard great things. I've heard him, Illy, and Shotzi are a trio to be reckoned with. And then you have Clay and Krem, who both obviously have chips on their shoulders now. And then with their chemistry from the Complexity days, is that right?
Yeah.
That was before my time. But so like, them two hyping these young kids up and guiding them and leading them, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I could definitely see them doing some damage.
A lot of people probably don't remember the fact that Clayster and Crim Six both wore black and red together for a minute,
Mhm.
and then Clay kind of got moved over to another team for karma
After winning,
after winning.
after winning.
And now Clayster, after winning a world championship, isn't with any of his teammates. He didn't get asked to go to Atlanta FaZe, or at least not for the same money that was offered in Dallas. He goes to Dallas and he surrounds himself with Illy and Shotzi. And if you read some of the interviews on CallOfDuty.com, everyone is talking about these two players. Faccento, Will and I never saw him play. What can you tell us about Illy and Shotzi?
I mean, dude, these kids are so new. I haven't seen them play, and I retired a year ago, almost to this day, and I coached for 6 months after that. So I know Shotzi comes from Halo with Hugh. He was one of the best Halo 5 players. He played Search and Destroy when he came over to Black Ops 4, won pretty much every tournament. And Illy has been around for 2 to 3 years, where he's won just about every Search and Destroy tournament as well. So like, these guys are coming in being dominant at a game mode that's 2 out of 5 of a best of 5 series. Like,
Yep.
if they can come in and learn the respawn and actually listen to Clay and Krim, who have been doing this shit forever. I mean, Krim's got 33 championships, and most of Krim's teams have been respawn dominant. Like, it's going to be a good combination.
Something crazy here in the chat from our man V-Line, man. Not only does he make graphics, he's also our stat wizard. Guess the record for Clayster and Crim 6 together. They've played 48 games.
Well,
48
the
series.
majority of them have to be in Black Ops 2 because I remember playing against that roster, and I don't remember winning very many maps against them. So I don't know if they're
44-4, Will.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds about
44-4. That doesn't make sense in any world. Like,
That's crazy.
that dominance has not been seen in years in Call of Duty.
And then they dropped him.
And then they broke it up. To their credit, they went on to win the championship that year. Everything worked out for TP Crim, Aches, and the rest of the crew. All right, so Dallas Empire, Chicago Huntsmen, and Atlanta FaZe are on everyone's top 3 list coming into the event. But we got to talk about a few of the squads that are under the radar. And this is one that I'm really interested in seeing this weekend play live, because Havoc, Mox, and Pristini are the 3 guys I know. Frosty I remember, but he was playing Halo when I was commentating him last, and then I've never watched Skies play before. So this is a young team. It seems like you've got some veterans. You've got the world champion Pristini to lead the squad as well. But what's the potential for a group that seems like the leftovers, maybe the misfit toys of the Call of Duty League?
Yeah, I think these guys are the dark horse of the CDL. I think they're actually ranked a lot higher than everyone expected for like the preseason rankings. I mean, Mox and Havoc were on a top 3 team last year. Pristini was on a top 2 team last year. Frosty really started to pick it up from the end. It seemed like he was really starting to grasp the concepts of Call of Duty, and that transition from Halo started to kind of seep out of him with his tendencies. And this Skies kid was lights out last year on the stats board. I mean, he was top 10 in KD for the whole year, where he really threw his teams on his back and kind of made them into like a top 8 team, top 10 range, just by himself. So I think if they pull it all together and they have the GO.A.T Ogre 2 leading them, Tom, and I could see him, getting these guys' mindsets right for the season, and them coming out and doing some unexpected damage.
That's what I was going to ask. This
Unexpected
is the
damage.
Florida Mutineers roster, correct?
Yep. And this is going to be general managed by Ogre 2, as Faccento mentioned. Crim 6, 33 championships, right? He leads Call of Duty. Ogre 2 is the greatest console player of all time, sitting at 41 championships in his career. Most of those way back before prize money was a thing. He was just doing it out of passion, and he kept doing it until he was 30 years old. But what can he do now? Because I'm 33. Tom's only 3 months younger than me. So, Will, what are your expectations? Like, what can someone with that history teach people in a totally different game? Do you think he's cut out to be a general manager?
Oh, I think he is for sure. I mean, when you talk about that much experience, if anything, just calming the guys down. Look, this league is going to be new to everyone. I don't care how much experience you have. There's more money on the line. There's more stress. There's more lights. There's more people watching. So, at a certain point, you're going to need someone who has been in that sort of environment and just knows how to win. Even though Ogre 2 might not have a ton of experience in Call of Duty, he's got a ton of experience winning, and especially in esports. So having somebody like that behind you, it's going to give more confidence to the players. And if they do get in a point where they're winning, and you'd be surprised, like a lot of people think, you start winning and you get more confidence. That works for some people, but if you haven't been there before, it can actually make you more nervous when you get in a winning position. You're like, oh, did we just do that? Are we really about to win this tournament?
Yeah.
So, if you get in that sort of situation, you want somebody like Tom behind you to kind of give you that confidence boost and settle you down a little bit, and show you the way to behave and act. I think he'll be a real asset for sure.
You've got one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, at the general manager position. But Faccento, looking in game, who's going to be your shot caller? Who's your leader?
Yeah.
Is Pristini that guy? I've never really listened to his comms. Haven't tuned in with Havoc for quite a while, but he was always kind of quiet back in AW, sneaking behind people. Who do you see leading this squad?
I think it's going to be a combination of the two. Mox, who kind of came up the same way I did. Like Mox he wasn't one of those guys that came and was a pro right out the gates. It took him a year and a half to go pro. So, he put a lot of hard work in and really studied the game, kind of like how I did. So he reminds me of myself, and his communication's top tier.
Okay.
But also their coach, Ricky Atura, which is, you guys definitely have never heard of this guy. And I actually got to know him when we were in Columbus in the Call of Duty World League, and we would talk COD because our teams would play each other. And this guy knows what he's talking about. He preaches the right things: communication, teamwork, the fundamentals, all that. And I think he's going to be the unsung hero of this team.
So let's take a moment and talk about him. Where did this guy come from? Who is Ricky? Put him on our radar here, Faccento.
Exactly. I didn't know him until I saw him in Chicago, and I was like, all right, our team's playing each other. I'm gonna go chat with them, because that's what I did with all the coaches. We'd sit there and I'd watch the matches with the coaches, because we went, I think, like 14 or 13-1 in the league. So I was my feet were up chilling.
Chilling.
Like I didn't have to do shit. I was just watching Simp and Abizi run around, do their thing.
The tiny chairs.
Yeah, but I talked to him, and I was like, trying to fish for information, because that's kind of what I did, a little bit of gamesmanship. And this guy knew what he was talking about, and he coached for Elevate, and they were respected, man. And that's the team Skies was on. So
Okay.
like they're kind of a package deal where Skies brought on Ricky, and they get along well. And I have a lot of respect for him and his knowledge.
Well, shout out to Ben Spoon. He's investing in the right places. He's got a decent GM. I mean, it's a new position for Ogre 2, but you have to think he's got the history there. Clearly has a unsung hero and a head coach, which we've seen definitely work in the Overwatch League and other places. So Florida, definitely a squad to kind of put on your teams to watch out for in Minnesota this weekend. Another team I'm excited to see, fellas, is the Los Angeles Gorillas. Not spelled with an O. It's not like the monkey. It's Gorillas. Like, I'm going to spray paint when you're not looking at me and cause some trouble in the streets. Aqua, Decimate, Aches, Lacefield, and Saints. Gentlemen, initial reactions. Big Willie, let's come to you first.
I know Aches and Saints. I mean, look, Aches is a part of that same roster we were talking about with Krim and Clayster and Karma as well. So the dude knows how to win. He's probably the most confident player I've ever seen. Even when he's losing and maybe not on the best looking roster, he's pretty sure he's going to go in and win and dominate whoever he plays. So you need somebody like that on the roster. Saints is a legend in his own right. We are talking about the same Saints,
Yes.
right? That I would know. Okay. Yeah. So Saints has been playing for a super long time. He's got the experience as well. In terms of the other three guys, they're going to be all new to me. Hopefully those two legends can, show them the ropes a little bit, and we'll see. It's not someone I'm expecting to come out and, make a lot of noise, but maybe I'll be surprised.
Lacefield teamed up with Aches back when they took down Optic Gaming at Champs. I remember wearing the Cloud9 jerseys. There was A lot of drama back in Black Ops 3. Aqua, though, is the guy that has always been on my radar since teaming with you, Faccento.
Yep, that's my
He
guy.
was a monster at COD Champs. I'll be honest, I did not know your team Revenge. I've called you guys at a few online tournaments, but then you guys come to Champs, and you leading the team, your comms were incredible, but Aqua was the guy who was constantly yelling at production to put on the screen because he wasn't getting 2 pieces.
Yeah.
He was getting 3 pieces back to back to back.
Oh, that performance was insane. Yeah, I didn't even know my TR team, and when we started playing with each other, it was kind of funny how that came to fruition. But the first word I thought about when you said this team was attitude. These guys have a lot of personality on this team, and if they can somehow manage the personality and come together and be a team, their skill level is really, really high. If I just don't know if they're gonna be able to hold it together. If they do, though, they'll do great things, but I just don't see it happen. I think there's too much personality on the team.
Both of you have seen toxicity in the past. You know when that energy can be turned negative and used against the team. But how do you harness that potential and maybe turn this into a positive thing for the Gorillas? Because I feel like if they come out and they cause some upsets and they get that villain mantra, that's something that Aches can really strive with. That's something he can drive off of. Can the rest of the team be fueled the same way? Or do they need some love? How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I think they all 5 have kind of that same personality where it's like if they can get the right culture where it's like us against everyone and they have one common goal of winning, then they'll get there. But it's going to be a tough task for whoever's coaching that team. I want to say it's Ricky and Bevels. I think they kind of have like a 2-way.
Ricky's
split.
listed as a substitute, but I think you're right. I think he's going to be kind of an acting.
Yeah, I think it's
second
Bevels
coach.
and Ricky kind of running the show. So if they can keep those personalities together and work towards and stack wins little by little instead of trying to make the big jump into doing everything at once, and really they need to come up with a plan, for success, and we'll see.
So that's gonna be like that's a momentum based
Exactly.
team. Like when things are rolling, they're gonna be talking trash to the other teams and building on that. But then if the snowball starts rolling the other way, it kind of gets turned inward and start arguing with each other, and that's when the personalities start to clash. It looks like they're going up this weekend against Minnesota and Florida, so none of like the top 3 big dogs. So maybe
that could be a good start for them.
Some
Yeah,
good
for
proving matches, I think, for all the teams involved there. We should keep this rolling over to Optic Gaming LA. Of course, Optic Gaming selling at the middle of last year. Hector goes off and builds NRG. Dashi and TJ joining up with old school veterans in Slasher and JCap, and they've got a guy who's been around for a while and was Rookie of the Year just 2 years ago, I believe, Kenny, on the lineup as well. What is the attitude of the Optic Gaming players? What is before we dive into the individuals, what is kind of the overall theme for this team? Because I feel like they're not getting the love that Optic Gaming's used to in the Call of Duty scene. After Hector and the rest of the crew were out, this brand doesn't seem to be getting the same attention on social media.
I'll let Will go.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I can speak for JCap because I teamed with him for many years. JCap, I don't think enjoys the villain role. JCap's a good guy, and Faccento hangs out with him all the time. He's a good guy. He doesn't really thrive in that sort of environment. Maybe the rest of the guys do. I think if there's a villain squad, this is probably the one. And look, it has nothing to do with the players that are on the team. I think they got thrown into it. Look, they're trying to play Call of Duty. So regardless of what happened with the team owners and the ownership and all of that, the players didn't have anything to do with it. So it's a lot of added pressure for them. But at the same time, I think they look at it like, hey, maybe we just have nothing to lose, or that at least should be the attitude that they go in with. He's like, all right, people already hate us, whatever, we'll just go in and we'll kind of run with it and try to prove people wrong. So
I'm cheering
if there's a
for
villain
these guys.
squad that what's that?
I'm cheering for these guys. I just kind of feel for them, especially JCap. Faccento, can you kind of talk to us about your roommate here, Mr. JCap, one of the Oak boys? How does Cap fit in with this lineup? Does he get along with Slasher? Do they work better paired up? How do you think he's going to fit in with the youngsters and TJ and Dashy? Talk to me about this.
So I think Cap knows the position he's in, and he's going to be kind of the backseat guy or the dirty work. Cap's been winning for years. He knows how to win. He has this system in place that he wants to use, and him and Slasher are pretty aligned on that because they teamed together they won champs in 2016, and then they got second in 2017. So these guys have won before, like they've been there. So they have the system in place, and he knows he has Kenny, TJ, and Dashy to really provide the kills needed. He's just got to be. He knows that he has to be in the right spots, and if he does that, they'll be really good. I think this team is going to start off slow. I think they have some slow learners, but once the slow learners get it, they're going to get it, and they're going to be better than everyone else at it.
We have a really negative Nancy in the chat, and I want to address his comment because I don't think that it's unique. John Dom says, take J-Cap out of that lineup. He's washed. Do you think there's any truth to that? Should we be concerned about the age of Slasher and J-Cap at this point?
Absolutely not. I mean, how many events did Slasher win last year? 3? 2, 3? Something like that. And I think he got snaked out of an MVP for one of them. No, I mean, these guys have been doing it for a long time, man. Like,
settle down,
so
John Dom. Settle down.
It's so much more. It's team versus team. It's not individuals versus individuals. And the sooner people learn that, the sooner they'll start to understand COD more.
And you got to look at more than just the box score. I know it's something easy that I've gone to in the past as a caster because you're so limited with the information you're able to get by just watching one player's perspective in a mini map. So we relied on stats quite a bit. But
absolutely,
I feel like the work that J-Cap is going to be doing for this team is the stuff that needs to happen to allow those big numbers from the youngsters.
Yep. I think the quote I could give you is you win Call of Duty with your feet. Period. You got to be in the right spots.
Because I beat Soul Calibur 2 with my feet once.
Yeah, it's tough to explain. Like you have to almost break the game. You have to understand every single spawn and what influences that spawn. And if you spawn here and I'm here, I know I could beat you here before you get there.
Right.
And that's all it is. It's winning with your feet, and it's taking your advantages and it's backing down from your disadvantages. And Call of Duty is so simple that I think people overthink it and make it and they think that it's harder than what it actually is.
Chat wants to know, do we think Kenny has a huge ego? When I met him at the Esports Awards, absolutely not. He and Simp were two of my favorite people that I hung out with. Super humble guy, had nothing but nice things to say about the other players that were representing the Call of Duty that weekend. Also, the CS guys, he seemed to be following a lot of other esports. In-game, though, is this a player that can be a little bit temperamental, Faccento, or is Kenny going to be good to go?
Oh, Kenny can talk his shit, but Kenny backs it up. Period. Like, and you can't say nothing to him. Like,
right.
He's a great talent. Like, he's top 10 talent for sure in Call of Duty, probably history. I mean, he's dominant. Like, when he gets going, dude, you can't stop him. So, who cares?
That is high praise. Right. Top 10 in Call of Duty history. Kenny's up there.
I will back that up. He backs it up for me. I don't have to, prove anything.
Watch Kenny this weekend. That's Optic LA. Big Willie style. I know you got the schedule up in front of you. Optic Gaming LA. What are some of the big matches they have? I know everyone's looking forward to the Optic versus Huntsman match on Sunday. That's going down at 3 p.m., but they got 2 matches this weekend.
Yep, the other match, it looks like they're going to be taking on Paris Legion, who we haven't talked about yet.
All right.
And that'll be happening Saturday, 5:15. So that'll be their first match of the weekend.
Let's go right into Paris. I'm going to skip over London. We'll get back to them in New York. Paris Legion may be the most interesting roster out of any of the teams coming into the Call of Duty League. And my brain can't really comprehend the scouting process or figure out how this team was formed because I look at it. Shocks and Dens are definitely from Australia, right? And then I believe Luca is as well. Zed, know him from EU, and I believe Kismet was North American. So you've kind of got players from all over the globe, and your core is Australian. So what does it look like in-game? I don't think any of us are equipped to talk about this. Faccento, do you know?
Yeah.
Hard to
So I
find.
actually didn't know the roster. That was the only roster I didn't know until you just said it. So could you repeat it for me?
Yeah,
And,
so it's going to be Dens. Let's pull it up one more time, and you can view it on the stream.
yeah, could
Shocks,
I?
Dens,
Okay.
and Luca.
So those are definitely Dens, Luca, and Shocks. Probably your top 3 Australian players in the world, like best Australian Call of Duty players. Dens has been sick for a long time.
Oh yeah.
He's been real good. Luca had a breakout year last year where he looked like an Australian simp.
Okay.
Um,
High praise.
Shocks, I think Shocks has been the best Australian player throughout the years, the 3 years that I've known him, and those 3 dudes they're great dudes. I've met them all.
Mm-hmm.
I've known them for a while. To speak on the other 2, Zed, super aggressive SMG style player, in your face. He's one of the top European players for sure. He kind of missed the cutoff on the London Royals
Okay.
where he just got beat out by I forget who it was, but so he's kind of like that 6 man, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go play for Paris. And then you have Kismet, who had a breakout year last year too, who I think he has a really great attitude, really great communication, solid like gun skill. I think he's going to step up and be the leader of this team, and he has a lot of passion. Like he wants it bad. So I think that's the biggest factor in being a Call of Duty pro. You got to want it.
I honestly don't know enough about the Paris Legion. Super excited to meet this squad this weekend. I definitely know Dens. I know Shock. And I know Zed. I used to commentate his games, and he would just have 44 bombs, 47 bombs. You never knew when it was going to come, but somewhere in that best of 5, Zed's going to pop off. And I want to give some credit to Paris Legion management because I threw a charity event to kick off Call of Duty in November, and Kismet was going to play in it, and then all of a sudden he gets signed to Paris. He's like, actually, I have to go to Paris and meet the team. So it sounds like they got the organization together pretty early in the grand scheme of things. They got a chance to meet the players and put the structure in place. I just wonder, were the ANZ guys a part of that from the very beginning? Paris, a squad to look out for. So is the London Royal Ravens. This is going to feature Jerd, a player that Big Willie style may remember. He was competing around that same time. We've got Mad Cat on the bench, another player from the Black Ops 2 days. But the real stars of this team are the twins. Wuskin and Scraps have had an insane ascent in the Call of Duty League since they originally broke in. Rated has always had phenomenal rivalries. I've loved as a broadcaster, not afraid to go toe-to-toe with Clayster in a trash-talking match. Recently, I was listening to Brice and Tons podcast, and he's talked a little bit about, he's engaged now, he's maturing, he thinks about things a little bit differently, but he's still that same guy. If you give him a little bit of trash talk, he might handle it a little bit more maturely, but he's not backing down from anyone. The real question I have is, what can you tell me about Dylan? Because in all of the interviews and everything I've read, Dylan is the player that people are talking about when they look at the London Royal Ravens.
Yeah, Dylan was he was the best player in Europe for sure last year. Like it wasn't even, I don't think it was close. And then following behind him was probably Scraps. So they kind of have those top 2 guys there, and along with Weskins, his brother, they have that synergy. I think they came up together in 2017. Rated's been doing it for a long time as well. He has his old duo, Joe, the Rated Joe duo. Joe's coaching them.
Really?
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So like they still have that same, like the thing about that playing like a team with Rated and Joe, I remember it's like you always have to respect the fundamentals and like they're gonna do the right things, right? So if you're not on your toes, like they'll take you out. And let's see. And then Jerd's been doing it forever. I mean, the guy was playing Will back in the day, so he's been doing it for a long time. That guy's a top talent too.
Jerd's a beast for sure. So Dylan's better than Wuskins in Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Like not even a question.
No question.
No delay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
no question.
It's gonna be a solid team. I played a little bit of Black Ops 4. Some GBs. I think it was me and Rambo, and we played with Wuskins. And I thought I was getting decent at Black Ops 4. I was killing it a little bit in GBs, and then Wuskins comes in and he's dropping like 50.
There's
60,
no kills on the map left together.
Yeah. So if they got a team full of guys better than him, then that's
I'm interested to see how that works out because I think from what I've heard they haven't had the most practice. I think they're dealing with a lot of visa issues.
Yep.
So I think like the first month of the game they didn't even play. So
Oh,
I think
okay.
they're behind a lot, and I'm interested to see how they do.
Yeah,
Yep.
it definitely sounds like they're behind everyone in terms of hours into scrimmages. Rated admitted to that.
Yeah.
So he feels like they have the potential, but they have some catching up to do. Minnesota, can you go to the schedule again for us, Big Willie style?
I'm on
Who
it.
will the London Royal Ravens be competing against? Do they have any juggernauts like Atlanta FaZe, Dallas Empire, or Chicago? Or are they going to be able to sort themselves out with the rest of the pack?
Looks like London's gonna face off against Paris on Sunday, but I'm actually more interested in their first match. Saturday at 1:30, they're gonna be playing New York, which I also don't think we talked about. The Subliners.
And that is our next squad. So let's go right into the subliners here, boys. Accuracy, the first player signed on the team. Interesting move, in my opinion, because I remember Accuracy way back in the AW days, and he would have huge games and then he'd have off games. But talk with management, they said this is the glue to the team. After they signed Accuracy, they brought in Attach, Zuma, Temp, and the European Zero is on the lineup with Sensor and Happy on the bench. Taking a look at the starting five here, though, who are you most excited to see compete? For me, I think it's got to be Temp. Old man Temp, to be honest, he's the youngster on the squad, and he was another guy like Hook. They had their breakout in AEW, everyone was super excited, and then the rug was pulled out from under him, told, you're not 18 yet, you can't compete with the rest of the boys.
Yeah, and he sat there and played Call of Duty every day until he could. I mean, this kid, I love Donnie. He's one of my favorite people. He's so sick. He's so sick of the game. Just naturally skilled. And I think he's grown up a lot over the last year or two, where he's really matured, and that's kind of where he faltered, was his immaturity and his he was really toxic at one point, and now he's starting to understand like it's team versus team, not us versus them type of thing,
Yep.
individuals. And then, like you said earlier, accuracy, the glue. I think that was the best move they could have made. This guy comes in every day and he sets the culture. Like, he is the most mature player, and he comes in ready to work every day because he didn't go pro for 3 years. He was an amateur for 2 years, like 2.5 years, somewhere in that range. So
Yep.
like when he finally went pro, he was like, I'm not letting this go. Like, this, I'm gonna do this for as long as I can because it took me so long to get here.
And I think
Yeah, I've
that
been
might be
recording
the
exactly.
situation that some of the fans are finding themselves in, is you're not as familiar with the current status of accuracy, because when I left, accuracy was just coming off of that rough time and he was starting to find his way in the pro league and
Exactly.
he was becoming a mainstay. But I haven't seen him recently. So when I heard he was the first player picked up on this roster, I was like, all right, I got to watch this man. Playing with accuracy, though, you got Zuma and Attach, two players who have been to that championship match. They've been in the biggest stage. Of course, Attach winning with Denial over your team, Revenge, back in 2015 for AW. Zuma has been in the game. I first knew him in Black Ops 2 as that kid on Game Battles Live that was always flanking and hitting insane sniper shots. But these are mainstays in the game. I know Zuma's had his ups and downs and has taken a few different roles in Call of Duty, but now he's back as a player. What are your expectations of the veteran submachine gun duo here, Faccento?
Yeah, I mean, these guys teamed together for 3 years on FaZe Clan, and they had a lot of success. They actually had some downfalls too. So I think they've been through everything together. Like they've been when they're down, and they've been together when they were up. So they understand what it takes to get back up to the spot they want to be. And I think with accuracy leading them, and then being accompanied by Temp with the skill he has, like I think New York's going to be the sleeper team all year, and I could see them pulling out some tournaments, especially with Trey Zero. I mean, that kid, he could do whatever. He can run sub, AR, plant bombs. He could do whatever.
I think one of the coolest parts of Trey as well is he is playing for the team he wanted to. Probably highly sought after for the London Royal Ravens. Paris is probably trying to grab him as a European star. But talking with Trey at the OS, which is a gaming lounge here in New York City, he said, I've always wanted to live in New York. Like, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to live in New York City, and now I'm here.
Nice.
So he's the guy, like, hey, Puckett, what are you doing? You want to go to dinner? You want to meet up at the bar? You want to just go out and explore? He's down for it all. But now I'm kind of interested to see how far this team can go, because Trey has been in a position to succeed with some Americans in the past, and they didn't necessarily walk away with those championships. Will they be able to stay at the top, and how quickly will they be able to climb to the top of the leaderboard? Faccento, if you ranked them 1 through 12, where do you think New York is at in your book?
So if we were going to a tournament LAN setting, I would have had them coming in at second, like this event, just because I think they're going to come out prepared, especially with Revan being the coach.
Yeah.
And JP back there
Stats
on
wizard,
on
man.
the stats guy. I love that guy.
My former intern is just like money balling it in New York.
So, but in terms of like online rankings and where they're going to be, I would say they're third, fourth, in the fourth, maybe fourth, fifth range.
Okay.
But they're in the top half for sure. I mean, no question about that.
Let's go to a few teams that we don't know where to place them. Up next, we got the Toronto Ultra. Metals, Methods, Looney, Classic, and Cammy. But I'm going to keep reading because we don't know who's officially going to be in the starting lineup. Because they got Mayhem, Lucky, Kleenex, Brack, and a guy that was pretty famous for being in COD Champs and a star for an entire year. Bance is riding the bench right now. First of all, can you catch us up with what's been going on with Bance? Because he was peaking with Splice last time I checked in on him. What's his road been?
I'm pretty sure last year he switched up some roles, and the team he was with, he just wasn't confident. Personally, I think he had some confidence issues. I think he's back in a good mental state, and now he's back on his game. I have no clue who's starting for this Toronto roster. I mean, they got 10 people who potentially could start, and I think that was kind of their plan. I think all the big I don't think anyone really wanted to go live in the tundra, and Toronto was kind of in a shit spot with players of who wanted to come there. I think they got left out of a lot of teams that went elsewhere, like Chicago, Seattle, LA, and I think they're just going the route of what the San Francisco Shock did in Overwatch, where they get 10 players that could potentially start, and they're going to make them fight for the spot and see who wants it. And
bring in the young talent, let them earn their spot.
Yeah.
My question is, are all these guys on payroll?
Yes, everybody's making 50,000 at least, Big Willie style.
That's 250 on the bench each year.
250
So
on the bench.
I don't know how that works exactly.
I
Maybe
really want
somebody in the
Brice to
chat
tell
can
us
help
who would be in the $250,000 range. Just kidding. Don't lose your job as an agent. There's a lot of names though that are up in that pay grade, I've been told. So it's interesting to think about it that way, Will. You have to have 2 players on your bench. I believe that is the league mandate, so you have to be spending at least 100 of that 250 on players. Looking at the lineup, though, let's talk about some of the names that we are familiar with. Looney, of course, a former teammate of yours on Rise Nation. Methods, one of my favorite human beings to ever come out of the Call of Duty scene. Started as a 15-year-old comedian on my esports report, and then started actually competing at the highest level. Classic, a guy who is always, if you're going into COD Champs, I'm like, just pencil Classic in on one of the top 4 teams. But I don't know much about Metals and Cammy. What do you know about this lineup, if anything, Mr. Faccento?
Is that the starting lineup?
That's the top 5, at least, that have been published on different Reddits.
Okay. To be honest with you, man, the only one I know is Metals was the Spaniard who was their best player last year on Heretics.
Okay.
Heretics made a good run last year in Black Ops 4, especially in the beginning, the first half of the year. They were really dominant. They're really, really good. I think they kind of learned how to play the game first, and everyone kind of followed suit, or at least their style. Cammy is the one that I don't know much about. I think he was on Heretics as well, but don't quote me on that. Hopefully the chat could help us out on that one.
Chat is saying that this is the starting lineup 100%. All right, so I'm going to have to catch up with Methods and get the lowdown of what's actually happening with Toronto. When it comes to expectations for me, because I know nothing about this team, I've got them down at like 10 through 12. Some people on CallOfDuty.com, though, said that the Toronto Ultra is the squad to be the underdog coming into Minnesota, a squad to look out for. Seattle Surge might be the opposite here, Will. Let's take a look at this squad because there's a lot of big names. Some of them that you used to compete with when they were still 15 years old. Slacked became a pro player when he was 14 years old in Black Ops 1. In Black Ops 2, he really hit his stride playing with Unite Gaming and Clayster. They got second to Freako Impact to open up the year with MLG. And ever since, he's been competing near the top. You've got Karma, of course, the greatest player of all time when it comes to championship rings, Mr. 3 rings. You've got Apathy, who has 2 rings of his own, and Enable and Octane, who are some of the highest sought-after players over the last 3 years. So when I look at this squad purely on paper, even with Proto and Panda on the bench, I would say if this was 3 years ago, this squad is going to win COD Champs, or they're going to finish in the top 3. But where are they at right now in Modern Warfare?
Yeah, this is the one I was so surprised to see. We talked about it before we started the podcast. I had no idea that this was a roster, and
you're like, you can afford this? How do you get all of these?
I can't believe it. Yeah, I mean, so these are some of the greatest Call of Duty players of all time. I mean, you got Damon, who I also think is hungry after the whole Optic Gaming fiasco that happened last year. Enable has been killing it for years. I've had the opportunity to see Octane play quite a bit. Slacked, competed against him, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. The guy can play. Apathy, one of the best players of all time, can clutch up in the moment, big moments. This squad is dangerous. I think if it's Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas in the top 3, this has got to be the top 4. But this is coming from somebody like, I'm thinking of these guys 4 years ago or 3 years ago. I don't know if they quite have that same impact that they would back when.
It's like your game sense doesn't go away, right?
So it doesn't. No, I think it only improves. So yeah, these guys have got to be. And when you talk about the game going boots on the ground, I mean, these are some of the best boots players in the world. So yeah, I think this has got to be a dangerous squad, man. This is somebody to look out for sure. And especially with who they're going up against. Their first matchups on Friday against Florida. And then it looks like they play again. Who did they play? They played Toronto Ultra. So they're not going to be tested entirely against some of these other powerhouse squads we've seen. So if anybody's going to come out and just kind of mop the competition, it might be Seattle Surge.
I got the bigger question. Who is your star? If you are Seattle's management, you know you can really invest in 2 people to get all of the media time possible. Who do you give it to?
Well, the first one's got to be Damon Barlow. The guy's, I mean, he reminds me of Shroud, honestly, when he plays different games. He's kind of like Krim in the sense that he's incredible at. So whatever he puts his time into, which obviously is COD right now, he's going to be great. I mean, he's a pretty soft-spoken guy, but Faccento and I were talking about it before the podcast. This is the family team. They're playing for their kids. We got husbands over here, so they got a little something extra to play for. So
I think saw the chat. They said it's the Seattle Daddies, and I love it. I'm like, just embrace it. Become the dad bod rocking Seattle Surge.
Extra motivation, man. I love it. Yeah, I think it's got to be probably Damon would be my 2 stars for this team.
A lot of love for Octane in the chat. Everyone's saying that. Yep. Enable has always been an incredible frontman and spokesperson for any of the teams he's played on, going all the way back to his Halo career when he started at the age of 15. It's nuts. I was thinking this definitely has to be the oldest lineup when it comes to average age of a team, even with Proto and Panda bringing it down. Because
they definitely are.
They got the old man hands. You know Enable really well. Some would say that he's your roommate. So what can you tell us about this squad, Faccento?
So the interesting thing about this squad is there's 2 players that have won a championship 4 years in a row. The previous 4 years, and it's Slacked and Octane.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know that. They've won a championship in every Call of Duty in the past 4 CODs. Anyways, so I'm looking at Karma, Enable, and Apathy to be the ones to step up. If those guys step up and Octane and Slack continue to do what they've done, I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't win a championship. I mean, the intangibles are there, like the communication, the teamwork. From what I've heard through the grapevine, they're a really positive team. They get on to work every day, and it's like you said. I mean, they're playing for some diapers, so they got to, you know.
You got to pay for the diapers. That expensive.
So they're it's 5 veterans on a team, which is, that's not normal in Call of Duty, right?
No, I don't think I don't think I've ever seen since kind of the Ogres broke away from Walshy a team that was just stacked purely of veterans. It's always
Yeah.
been old guard mixed in with new blood, and that old guard was always being kind of rounded out where the oldest guy would get replaced by the youngest guy that they previously brought in.
Exactly.
So to see the strategy coming out of Seattle, who also owns the Vancouver Titans, and something that they did in the Overwatch League was just go and buy fully equipped full team in Korea and bring them over in the Overwatch League and just have them compete with 3 years of experience already. I feel like Steve, the owner here, may have just gone after the names that he knew he was familiar with and he was willing to spend on it. But this has to be one of the most expensive lineups outside of Chicago Huntsman and Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, looking at them, they have one of the best resumes as a team. So, 100%.
Seattle Surge, do we think they're going to win their games? Will, who are they playing?
Yeah, I think those guys end up going 2-0 on the weekend. Honestly,
Who they play?
It looks like Minnesota and Florida. It's going to be their two matchups.
Minnesota and Florida.
If I was a betting man, I would bet on Seattle.
Yeah, I think talking with Minnesota and the management and their infrastructure from the beginning, because we had conversations with them trying to deal players to them. I think they were the most set up, and they had the best infrastructure out of everyone that we talked to. Their management really, the people on their board, they wanted people who wanted to come play for Minnesota. They didn't want to just pay for some superstar that didn't really want to be there and come in and play for a paycheck. They wanted people to come in and really want it, and I think that's what they got with their team. I think something that is underlying with their team is their coaching staff, which is Brian Saint, I replaced him on EUnited to come in and coach EUnited, and I think that put a bad taste in his mouth. So I think he kind of want to proves everyone that he is a good coach, which I think he is. So I'm excited to see that. And then I think they probably have next up there with Seattle, where they have the best attitudes. They're all hungry, and they're overlooked, which is going to be a positive for them because I don't think they have much pressure coming in to defend the land.
What's your opinion on their substitutes? To my knowledge, Tiny was like kind of an all-star player, wasn't he, over the last couple of years? Why is he subbing?
Tiny is an all-star at Search and Destroy.
Okay.
He's been a top-tier guy in the Search and Destroy community. I played a couple search tournaments with him back in the day. He's a real positive kid, and he's real smart too in the Search and Destroy team. So their search game is going to be on par for sure.
Search is the strength. How confident are you in the respawn game out of this lineup? Silly said that a lot of people are probably overlooking the guy that goes by the name of GOAT-RX.
Oh yeah, so I actually, what's funny is their analytics guy is Jake Reppin, Troball, and that's probably a name you guys don't know either.
No.
Reppin and GOAT-RX teamed in AW Orlando. It's the event before COD Champs, and we got 24th together.
Oh wow.
Top 24. And then after that, we broke up and Revenge formed, and then that's when I got second.
Probably a good thing you broke up there.
Yeah. But GOAT-RX was actually on. It was between him and Aqua on who we were going to pick up because he was so skilled, and he's been around for a while, man. Like his skill, and I think it just took him a while to mature and develop his thought process in game, and I think he's really got it down, especially with the people around him like Silly and Assault. They're all real good friends, so I think he might have a breakout year this year.
I'm excited. I think this is one of those other squads like Florida I have no expectations for. I know some of the names. I've seen success from those names. Silly is very much in that same position as Pristini for me here. I want to see what they can do with their lineup, and let's see what's going to happen for Minnesota. Will, looking at Minnesota's games, they're going to be playing Seattle Surge, right? You mentioned they'll be playing Seattle, and who else is Minnesota playing on home turf?
It looks like they're going to be facing off against the LA Gorillas.
LA Gorillas.
So, two of the kind of question mark teams that we've looked at. Look, there's just so much talent I haven't really seen play, I'm going to be honest, in a while. I'm excited to sit down this weekend, order some food, and just really analyze all of these matches and get a nice base for where everybody's at in this game. Because, I mean, like we talked about, I think some people have practice the game a lot more. Some people, just depending on their location and circumstances, are going to get better practice than other teams.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing where everybody's at and kind of getting a base for the skill level of individual players, but also how they work together as a team.
Here is a look at the Intel Call of Duty CDL preseason power rankings. It was done by a mix of players and coaches. And I want to, now that we've gone through all 12 teams, kind of talk about our rankings because, as Will just mentioned, we know nothing. We're coming into this fresh. We are starting the season, but we're going to make predictions every single time there's a competitive weekend. And here is our first round, just making predictions on the power rankings. Now, unlike the rest of the Call of Duty League season, Minnesota is going to have teams set up in 2 matches each, and that's all they're going to play. They'll be earning points. Every other event is going to have 8 teams invited, and they'll play in a mini tournament where you'll get points depending on where you place. So in this one, we're just kind of looking at the brand new league. Where would we put the players and the teams in order? It seems the community and the pro players have all ranked Atlanta FaZe in the number 1 spot. Is there any doubt from you guys taking a look at this young squad?
Let me go back to the roster first just to see, because number 1, I mean, that's a serious ranking. So let me see who they're working with exactly again. Yeah, this is the team with Simp, Abizi, Celium, Major Maniac, Priesta. I mean, yeah, better than Dallas Empire? I don't know. I feel like I would switch the first 2 if I really.
I'm with Will. I got Dallas in the front.
Yeah,
they've just been grinding, man. Like,
I'll have to. I'm gonna go against you guys and say Atlanta FaZe is definitely sitting at the top. Yeah, I think Simp and Abizi coming off of that World Championship win, they're still going to be riding that high. They're still young. They're still hungry.
Yep.
Major Maniac getting second so many times. He's still hungry. Celium just loves Call of Duty. And then their 5th is, who's their 5th?
5th.
Blanking. Wow.
On Atlanta.
Priesta. I mean,
Priesta.
Yeah, Priesta.
Yeah, we all knew that.
And it's, with Crowder leading the charge, man, I just don't see these guys getting taken out this weekend with the confidence that they're going to have. And what's interesting about Dallas is the only team in the league that doesn't have a coach. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh.
Dallas, no coach needed, I feel like.
Yeah.
Looking at Dallas and Chicago, though, let's talk about where we have them. Dallas Empire, once again, Hook, Clayster, Crimsix, Ilian, Shotzi, going up against Chicago Huntsmen of Arcities, Envoy, Scump, Formal, and Gunless. In the rankings, I feel like just by names, I would give the edge to the Chicago Huntsmen. But knowing how much time, effort, and energy that Crim and crew are putting in, I feel like I have to put Empire number 2. Faccento, do you have any doubts in the Empire? Do you have Huntsman ranked higher, or do you have them 2, 3 like it's listed?
Yeah, I think I have one doubt with the Empire, and that's going to be Illy. Illy has been their best player online. He's never played at a LAN before that I know of, or a big LAN. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And if he comes out and plays like he does online, I think I think they are in that number 2 spot. But if he doesn't, then I think they're going to move down to that number 3 spot.
Wait, so did he just turn 18? He didn't play in any of the events last year?
Nope.
Oh, that's huge then. Wow, I wasn't aware of that.
Making a big gamble there if you're Dallas.
Yeah.
Because I know he went for some decent money. Number 4 on the list is Minnesota Rocker, which I don't think any of us had ranked that high. There's a lot of faith in what they've been building there. But also, remember, these are the players and the coaches that have been ranking it. And these guys have done work in scrimmages. Talking with Rated, he said that Minnesota really causes problems with the way they match up. Clayster has said really good things about the team up north. But I still think in my number 4 spot, I'm going with Seattle Surge. I'm going with the veteran squad. You still got young enough players in Octane. I feel like this is a team that doesn't have a ton of confidence going in. But I think Seattle Surge, if they win both their matches, they deserve to kind of be in a top 5 position. Anyone you would move into the top 4 that's not in there right now, guys?
I'm right there with you. I would have put Seattle at number 4.
I'm gonna go New York at 4.
New York at 4.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the game, accuracy and temper really good. I mean, they got second at the first Black Ops 4 event, and they probably should have won it. Or they definitely should have won it if Timp throws his cluster grenade better.
Whoops.
I think he's going to come out and dominate this tournament. So I'm looking at them. I think New York's going to be in that 4th spot, and then Seattle in the 5th.
Optic Gaming's all the way down at 8th place. Do you see them jumping over any of the teams in front of them? Do you see them falling back? London down at 9, and Paris Legion is at the bottom of the pile at 12.
I would say the 8 through 12 is pretty fair. Actually, I think having the Florida and LA Optic at 7-8s, like they could flip flop,
Okay.
and then the bottom 4 I think can flip flop as well. But that's going to be your bottom 4.
Will, you got a
For now.
prediction of who's going to be the better LA team, Gorillas or Optic Gaming?
I think it's got to be Optic Gaming. I would agreed. I would have put Optic at 7. Look, I would have put Dallas number 1, Atlanta number 2, Chicago, Surge, Subliners, Minnesota, Optic LA, Florida Mutineers, and left the bottom 4 how it is.
It could be
Those are my
anything.
predictions.
Got it. I think I'm pretty much aligned with you. I don't know where I'm putting Florida yet. That's my big question mark. They could be 7, they could be 9. But everything else there looks pretty good. Shout out to Intel Call of Duty, the CDL preseason rankings. Make sure you give them a follow on Twitter. They've done incredible stuff, made a whole lot of awesome articles, which has really helped me prepare for the event this weekend. And I want to give a shout out to everyone who's come out for the first episode of the Codtacular podcast. At this point, we're going to answer all of your questions. So send them right now. I know a lot of them are going to be about you, Big Willie style. Everybody wants to know what's up for BigTymer this year. You mentioned you did the stock thing. You've been working on YouTube for several years now. What does 2020 look like for Will BigTymer Johnson?
There's a lot of things going on, man. I mean, first, like I said, I wanted to get back into Call of Duty, start paying a little bit more attention to the scene. Very happy to run the podcast alongside you. Hopefully we can keep this going for quite a while. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I work with a few startup companies that are in kind of the technology, trading, gaming space. Been doing a lot of work with different finance companies and things too. So there's a lot on my plate. I'm a little bit spread out right now, but I kind of want to hone my focus a little bit, get back into Call of Duty, and just bring it home.
I had no idea you were doing any of that. That
yeah, I keep it low-key.
Super scary, but also very incredible. Puckett, do you think Illy may buckle or lose composure when they play against the crowd of the Huntsmen? Do you think Dallas's new players struggle playing in front of what is historically the biggest fan base in Call of Duty, whoever follows Scump and the former Optic Gaming, now Huntsman lineup?
Yeah, I mean, if you got one guy that's never played at a LAN, that was one of the most startling things I heard, I think, this whole podcast. Never been to a LAN. I mean, I don't think this is a huge one. At least, like, his first event's not, COD Champs or something. It's kind of it's the first event. You're going to get some points, but I don't think there's a ton of pressure. But, yeah, it could definitely play a role, especially if you pay attention to it. There's certain players who very active on social media. In between maps, you'll look over at them after you lose, and they're like, "Oh, who's tweeting me? Like, oh, is everybody talking shit about me right now? Like, oh my god." But other players, they don't care. They focus on the game. They know all they got to do is do what they do every day. Just play Call of Duty, pay attention to the rotations, and just keep their mind focused on the game. So I'm not in these guys' heads, but they need to just keep their focus, stay away from social media during the event. Don't listen to people. Just sit back, play your game. At the end of the day, it's Call of Duty. What I used to do when I was playing in a tournament, just to make myself feel at home, is I would sit cross-legged, because that's how I would play at home. I would just sit cross-legged. So I'd kick my shoes off, sit cross-legged, and I felt like I was back in my bedroom playing Call of Duty. So that's what they got to do. Just take your shoes off.
Can you still sit like that? I'm 33. That's like a yoga workout.
I don't anymore. Yeah. No, I have terrible knees because of
Faccento, do you agree with the no social media point that Will made? Because I've seen it. I've always hated it as a producer. We would come to the camera shots, the team just won, and the first thing to do is pull out their cell phones and scroll through social media. If you're a coach or team owner, do you allow that for your team? Does it help at all?
No, so I mean, dating back to when I was a player, like I wouldn't tweet for the whole tournament. Like when
Yeah.
I leave on that Wednesday, Thursday, I don't tweet until that Tuesday after the tournament.
Right.
There's no point. I mean, you're there for a reason, and your focus should purely be on Call of Duty and winning only. So no, I definitely disagree with looking at social media and shit like that. I mean, go the Bill Belichick route, man. He calls it does he call it face photo or something?
Yeah, I mean, imagine if like Tom Brady in between snaps is like scrolling his Twitter, like,
Nah,
oh,
nah.
On the bench.
If you're a
just
new
doesn't happen.
GM, shut it down before it becomes a problem. This one
Shut it
comes from Kilobyte. A lot of people have been asking, is it always going to be us three? Who's going to be on the podcast? I know it's going to be BigTymer and I bringing you the action on a regular basis. We plan on bringing in a lot of guests throughout the year. Faccento, how often are you available, my friend? It's been great having you on today.
I'll be available some
We'll be around.
Tuesdays.
We'll be bringing you in.
Yeah.
Will, we may need to add a third goat to that podcast logo, and I know you've had a guy that's been a longtime friend in mind, and Kilobyte wants to know, Big T and Rambo make a return. I don't know if they're talking about the podcast or to the gaming scene as competitors.
Look, Ray and I, we've been playing a little Escape from Tarkov recently. We do that and we play chess a lot. We really are. Jesus Christ. We just play chess. So, well, yeah.
Like on your iPhone at least, or are you sitting on a PC playing Ray and chess?
I'm also a nerd. Like I'll bring up like computer chess engines on my second monitor and like try to figure out the best moves. When I like all these guys, it's not just me. I know it's not. Whenever you put your mind to something, you're OCD focused on it until you're the best at the best person possible. So yeah, I cheat in chess in my spare time, and maybe we'll bring Rambo on the podcast. I'm not sure yet, but
Rambo Ray,
we'll see what happens.
I know where you work. We're gonna call your employer. We're gonna clear Tuesdays, even though you're on the West Coast. They're gonna let you out at 4:00 so you can join the podcast. Let's keep the questions coming here. This next one, Draft AR. Puckett, I really hope you come back to the league. What do you plan on doing this year? If you missed the January announcement, I am officially freelance. My wife got promoted, bringing us back to New York City, which meant I couldn't be in LA hosting all of the Overwatch League. But what it does mean is I can take planes, trains, and automobiles to all of the biggest events on the planet. I've already been in talks with a number of the teams for when they're hosting their local weekend events, and hoping to do both Call of Duty and Overwatch on top of a bunch of other esports like Fortnite and more this year. But doing this podcast is definitely the one thing that I plan on doing weekly to stay in tune with the Call of Duty scene, because I'll be honest, I've just missed it too much over the last year, and it hurts me to go over these rosters and not know every single name and every single player story. Let's keep it going here, guys. Keep the questions coming in. Big T, what is your overall LAN experience? It's not a real question. Let's keep it coming down here. Everyone says get Rambo on the pod, though. They are ready. Faccento, can you give us a zone? Because I don't think you could give an exact number. What kind of salaries are we looking like in the Call of Duty League? If I'm a team owner, what does it cost me to get a star?
More than your parents.
More than your parents. All right. Like taking mom and dad's salary and combining them?
Combining them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's like that. It's like that, kids.
You can go buy a house.
Since Faccento's in the business, you probably can't share exact numbers, but I've heard rumors of 200,000, big names going up for $300,000. None of that, of course, confirmed legally by anyone in the Call of Duty League or by Jacob Wolf yet on ESPN.com. Puckett, would you enjoy hosting a Melee tournament? Will, you any good at Super Smash Brothers?
I played it like one time for an Optic video, and I got super smashed off the map by Hitch, who just like plays it all the time. So if you could teach me like how to play, I'd definitely do it.
I'm not your guy. I haven't been good since NES on like Nintendo 64, and you could just baseball bat everyone off the map. I would be down to host a tournament. I would be down to throw one in New York. Probably wouldn't play in it. For Faccento, who carried you more at Champs? Was it Remy or Aqua?
That's a tough one.
Rem. The best player to ever come out of North Dakota.
The only player to come out of North Dakota.
And the best.
Yeah, and the best. I would say overall probably Aqua, but in those clutch moments, man, I think Remy's the most clutch player I've ever played with, and he's the unsung hero of our team.
Kilobyte asked another great question. What was the key to success when you randomly placed second at champs? Because there's some teams that are in a similar position. They're trying to come out of nowhere and just finish above everyone else that's been established forever.
Dude, it was crazy. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced, even after post TR. Like it was so natural to play with that four. We just fit so well, and our play styles it was so natural. It was we didn't even talk about things. Like we just played for fun and ended up being good. Like I can't explain it, to be honest.
What are your expectations? Will subs be a key factor this year? Is that question around submachine guns, or is it about substitutes? Because I don't think substitutes are actually going to be a thing. If it's anything like the Overwatch League, you may have a few set strategies where you plug a sub in, but most of the time you're practicing 24/7 with that starting lineup.
Yeah, that's the one thing I got to find out is, are you able to just have a sub come in the middle of a match? Does it have to be in between matches, or does it have to be in between tournaments? Or do you have to confirm your team before like this weekend and that's who you play with? So I got a little bit of research to do.
Faccento, if you were a coach, what would your strat be? Would you use the subs?
No, I would stick with the 5 and keep that 5.
Okay. I did read that teams are able to have two-way players as well. For example, there's a challenger bracket that's going to be at Minnesota, I believe, for the amateur teams or the teams that are looking to get in the league in the future. Big money on the line for them there, but you could also have substitutes if they didn't play that weekend in the Call of Duty League, they could participate in the challenger events. So I wonder, as the year goes on, will any of those players be signed as two-way players, and will they play in challenger? Final question on the night. They asked this to BigTymer, but I'm going to save it for a future episode. What was your favorite moment in your career? This one's to Faccento.
That one's easy. Winning MLG Las Vegas and getting a VP. When I became a pro player and I got my first tournament ever going pro is getting second at champs, like being on that side of the table of getting second, being so close to first, like that's all I ever wanted. Was to win one. I had to win one, and I won my one, and after that it was like my journey has been complete. So winning that tournament, and then close second would be being a coach and winning COD champs, because that was also something I wanted to do as a player but couldn't achieve.
Did you get a ring?
Yes.
Do you ever wear the ring out, just like casually to the bar?
I actually the owner of EUnited has it, and he lives about 20 minutes away from me, and I haven't picked it up yet. So I gotta go do that.
What is wrong with you? You were just in Vegas without a ring on?
I've been busy, man.
All right, I believe it. Congratulations once again on Bad Moon Talent. For anyone who doesn't know, Faccento started as a pro player. First of all, he was actually a scrub on GameBattles.com. I used to commentate his online play. Then he got really good at AW. Then he led his team as one of the best commanders in-game of all time. Got second place to Denial at AW Champs. Won a tournament a few years later, and then went on to win the World Championship with EUnited as a coach. Now, member of Bad Moon Talent, go ahead, plug the company. For any up-and-coming players that will eventually need an agent, what do you guys do?
Yeah, man. So pretty much Bad Moon Talent is an agency and a player management company. We also do broadcast talent, management for the brightest and best esports players. Just looking to help out wherever we can.
At Bad Moon Talent on Twitter. And finally, BigTymer, we are going to have so much time for discussions. I'm going to save a lot of the career questions for you when we have a slow week or an off week here. But what are you most excited about? This is your big return, man. We've been talking about it for a while. We've been out of the scene. We're back. We're locked in for 2020. What are you most hyped about?
I'm most hyped about coming back next week with a little bit of knowledge.
We're going to watch some gameplay.
Teams. We're going to watch a lot. I might even call you up on Discord, and we're going to watch these matches together. Oh, wait. Shit,
I'm going to be in the stands.
You're going to be in the stands watching live. Well, you're going to have to tell me, like, the behind the scenes.
I'll FaceTime you, man.
Yeah, you're going to be talking with the players.
I'll act like I lost my staff badge. I'll give you the staff badge. You just fly in, like, middle of Saturday. We'll give you a hat and, like, a bigger beard. No one will know who it is. We'll sneak you in. I want to thank everyone in the chat. Any words before we go, guys? We're good. Locked up. Chat, thank you for hanging out. This was Codtacular Podcast, episode number 1. Catch us every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Puckett. We'll put it up on YouTube. I'm going to figure out how to get this thing on iTunes, Spotify. Might not happen next week, but we're going to get there as soon as we can. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Much love, fam.